Welcome to the Royal Hotel. My name is Sybil Leris. I've known Loch all my life. I was born at Yanaki and we used to travel through Loch on the way to Melbourne when I was a little girl, and I thought it was the most exciting place I'd ever seen because as an avid Enid Blyton fan, I figured that Loch was really a village that I'd read about or I visualised in one of her books. So that's how I came to find Loch a long time ago. It's been in my heart all that time. A long time ago I was a school teacher in Melbourne, and I think I was the beginning of a tree changer, and I wanted to have a bed and breakfast. And this was a vacant building when I found it. And I ended up with a bed and breakfast and a bar, and I do all the cooking, and I have lots and lots of people around me, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. It has a particular look about it because basically I know nothing about pubs. I don't go to pubs, so this is my version of one, and it's my home. This is where I live. So I collect art, I support local artists, and I delight in changing the look of the rooms by changing paintings or sculptures, and it's an extension of myself. Volunteering for Loch is its heart, because without volunteers in all shapes and forms, not just women, Loch wouldn't be the way it is. There are many groups of people in our community who need support in all different ways, whether they're children struggling at school, so I volunteer my time to tutor them. It's really important for me as a former teacher to pass on what I know. I think the beginning of females and businesses in Loch started a long time ago with the Jenkins family and Roma in particular, who headed off the hardware store there. And then later in time, in the 90s, a lovely lady called Cheryl opened up Fantasies and Fairies in the old bank building on the corner of Smith Street, and that was a remarkable success. Even today, people talk about that shop. And she's also someone who fostered volunteering. I think she was very significant when it came to giving women confidence to go out on their own. And since then, there's a whole host of us, including myself. But there are people like Kay Lancashire with her beading workshop, Cherise Merle at Hardlock Cafe, there's Charmaine at the general store, wonderful Carol at Victoria Street Gallery, then all the girls up at Green Hills who run a marvellous respite centre for TAC people, the girls at the Cosy Kitchen, the girls at Elton's Motors, the front shop. There are women everywhere, Quilters Barns run by Julie Wallace. My goodness, female domination.
My name's Carol Hickmott and I live and work here in Loch at Victoria Street Gallery. I like doing china painting, sketching and watercolour. 20 years ago now, we came out from England. We emigrated. It was quite a decision. We came here about 3.5 years ago. Found the place quite by accident, but it was something we'd dreamed of. A nice little gallery with books as well, second-hand books, and a fireplace. That was one of the important things. And it was up for sale. And I stepped in the door and there was the fireplace. Oh, spooky. You always wonder what it'll be like when you move into a small village. But everybody was very welcoming right from the word go, which is wonderful. You don't have to be here 45 years to become a local. We're all great friends. We help each other out. If somebody's got a drama happening, we'll go and watch their place if they've got to nip away for a few minutes, and that's how I think a community's got to work and get on. A lot happens under the umbrella of the Loch Community Development Association. We have lots of festivals throughout the year. We used to have one every other month, but we think of another one and it's nearly one every month. So everybody gets a chance, and it brings new people who haven't been to Loch before into the area. A lot of city people coming through for day trips or going on holiday down to Wilson's Prom, and they certainly find it very friendly and different from city activities, and lots of people who want to make tree changes down here, which I can understand, being here all the time.
Good afternoon, I'm Cherie and this is the Hard Loch Cafe, and welcome. Initially we came here 4 years ago. I'd been catering for about 15 years, and I was looking to extend my work and perhaps have a change that might have offered a little bit more interest and variety. I stumbled on Loch in reality. It certainly wasn't an orchestrated move. It was interesting when we first came to Loch and took over this building, as it had been the infant welfare centre, and because there are still people living in this town who attended it as an infant welfare centre, they've got an absolute sense of ownership over it. And even today in the bathroom there are children's hanging pegs from when children would come and hang their bags in there, so we think that's lovely. The Hard Loch Cafe is a joint project by my daughter and I. Ashley is in her early 30s, and she's a very competent young lady, and I'm very proud of her. My home is about 20 k's from Loch. It's in Leongatha. I'm married to a dairy farmer and have dairy farmed for most of my life. When I moved to Loch, I think it was, I was well received. My daughter and I were very well welcomed into this business. I had always known that Loch was a positive community. They had a lot of infrastructure in place. Since I've been here, I've become more involved in the community. I think Loch is a town of survival. It's had a number of setbacks, and I think the community works together for its survival. I've enjoyed cooking, and I have never had a qualification in this field. I think the beauty of Gippsland is that we've got fabulous, we've got an abundance of beautiful, rich foods. The soil's very rich and full-bodied. Our flavours are strong and bold. I think I love to be involved in foods that reflect Gippsland, and that's essentially what we're doing here, real foods.
I'm Julie Wallace, and I own the Quilters Barn and also another company, QB Fabrics, which is a wholesale company. I started my quilting business 20 years ago, and it actually started on our farming property. I had 3 sons and then my daughter, and made her a quilt, and some of the neighbours asked me to show them how to make a quilt. So I started doing that, and within about a year I was teaching 3 days a week. So the next step was to take over our farm machinery shed, which was a great big barn, which is where the name Quilters Barn comes from. I liked designing patterns, so that's a little bit different to a lot of other patchwork shop owners. I was writing for 5 of the magazines, Australian magazines. I've written 3 books, and it was during my first book that I was buying fabric from Japan. My wholesale business started out through that trip to Japan as well, because I started buying fabrics in for my own shop, to the point now that we actually import 2 tonne every 6 weeks. So it's grown out into all these different avenues. I do. I still make all of these quilts, yes, which is still my passion. Like, I put on a quilt show here every year, every February, and we hang out 200 quilts in the street. I could not get that out. I couldn't do it without all of the volunteers, family and volunteers, certainly, yeah. So a lot of the women come up with good ideas, but we have a lot of other people behind us that are wonderful and, yeah, do the extra bit. Like, I just love the area. I fell in love with it driving back and forwards through it, and saw a shop for sale, and that was it. I saw it, and I think I purchased that within 10 days. We sold some of the cows, which is really handy, and yeah, got the building and started the business, so it's a lot more accessible here. Everywhere I go I say, this is where I come from, Loch, and I put out a newsletter, flyers, brochures, and we get a lot of visitors. It's actually wonderful that we're all very close. We're always thinking, and we get together and usually act on it, which is amazing for such a small community.
It's changed over the years as the bypassed us. It's changed again from a very small community type village with grocery, bakery, butchers and things. They've gone and people have come in and taken over, and it's gone to the more tourist side of things, and it's survived each change, which I think small towns have got to do.
When we had the South Gippsland Shire Council Mayor here recently, he said that he admired and respected Loch because they were a community that took the bull by the horns and shaped their own destiny, and that is what happens in Loch.
I'm away travelling so much, and you're living out of a suitcase, you're living in a hotel room, and you're only seeing an exhibition centre. I get back here, and as soon as I hit Lang Lang and you just see the hills and the green, and it's just beautiful, and I get home and it's the peace and quiet and serenity that I really enjoy. That keeps me sane.
I think on a personal level, I think possibly the only thing I'd like to add about me is that it's interesting to come from a refugee family and to be here today and to live in a country that is free and to live in magical countryside and to feel safe and to know that as a woman you are free to do what you wish, you are allowed to own a business, you are allowed to do whatever you want. And I think that's probably more important than anything else. Human freedom, human rights.